Itoki's life was anything but ordinary. Ugly, lonely, and overlooked. His mundane existence took a bizarre twist when a mysterious ninja girl named Kusetsu began stalking him relentlessly. Determined to escape her shadowy presence, Itoki leaped into a frenzied spree of parkour across town. Enter Truck-kun, the harbinger of countless isekai adventures, ready to claim his next victim. But Itoki defied anime convention with a backflip so audacious it left Truck-kun in the dust, solidifying his place as the coolest loser alive. The next morning, Kusetsu resumed her silent pursuit, but Itoki's mind was elsewhere, fixated on a love letter he found in his locker. The sender? A girl named Satomi. Her beauty was as disarming as her confession. She admired his heroic backflip and invited him over, promising her parents weren't home. Inside her room, things took an unexpected turn. Satomi's coy hospitality quickly escalated as she began disrobing, leaving Itoki in full-blown protagonist panic mode. Before he could flee, he noticed something unsettling, a pair of glowing eyes peering from under the bed. Suddenly, the room erupted into chaos. Ninjas burst in, blades flashing, and Satomi revealed her true intent. She was out for his life. Smoke filled the room as Kusetsu came to his rescue, fighting off attackers with ruthless precision. She hurled Itoki out the window, where he tumbled onto a canopy below, only to be whisked away by a mysterious woman named Riha. As their car sped into the night, Riha, an ally of his mother, assured him of his safety. But danger was relentless. A jeep gave chase, forcing their vehicle into a crash. Disoriented and desperate, Itoki wandered aimlessly until a policeman appeared. Relief was short-lived. A ninja emerged from the shadows and struck the officer down. Bound and helpless, Itoki braced for the end. But salvation arrived in the form of Takasata, a cigarette-smoking enigma who revealed his ninja prowess, dispatching the attackers with ease. Itoki awoke at his family's ancestral home, where the truth unraveled like a fateful scroll. His mother, the stoic clan chief, explained their lineage. They were descendants of the IGA ninja clan, locked in a deadly feud with the powerful Kuga clan. Itoki, the reluctant heir, was thrust into a destiny he neither wanted nor understood. Faced with a grim ultimatum, become a ninja or perish as sushi for their enemies, Itoki's world crumbled. As his family pushed him toward his fate, the weight of ancient duty pressed down. Would he rise to the challenge or crumble under the shadow of the Kuga clan? Itoki, torn with fear at the thought of being separated from his mother, couldn't hold back his tears. Reluctantly, he agreed to take on the mantle of the next leader. Meanwhile, far away, in a secluded cabin, Satomi and a mysterious figure discovered that Itoki had been taken to the IGA village. They knew the time to strike would come soon. The next morning, Itoki awoke to see Riha waiting outside his room. A wave of relief washed over him. He was safe. Hours later, she showed him a video of a ninja school they planned to enroll him in. Itoki was stunned. The place looked like an ordinary school. Riha casually mentioned that his entrance exam was only days away. Itoki, wide-eyed, screamed in disbelief. A few days later, Itoki returned home, his mind heavy with thoughts of his late father, the former leader of their clan. As they sat down for dinner, he finally asked his mother about his father's death. Yumika, with a shadow crossing her face, urged him not to dwell on the past, assuring him that some things were better left alone. The next morning, Takasata and Kusetsu arrived to take him to the exam. Feeling unprepared, Itoki wondered if he should practice fire-breathing techniques, only to be met with teasing from Takasata, who jokingly called his cigarette a fire technique. Kusetsu chuckled and informed him that there were no such techniques. Itoki, ever the skeptic, couldn't help but feel like she was pulling his leg. Hours later, they arrived at a mall for the exam. To Itoki's bewilderment, it looked like any ordinary store. Kusetsu whispered a secret code to an attendant, and they were led into a hidden passage. What awaited them was a room full of tense, serious faces. Soon the teacher arrived, announcing a seemingly simple yet perilous challenge. A game of hide-and-seek where they had to find each other within a set time. Itoki's heart sank when he realized his partner was none other than Satomi, disguised in a wig. After entering the store, the teacher gave Itoki the green light to start searching for her. But just as he was about to make a move, a stranger with a knife appeared before him. Takasata swiftly intervened, pulling Itoki into an aisle and pretending to help him. In a panic, Itoki feared he'd fail the exam, but Kusetsu reassured him. There were ninjas trying to kill him, but running would guarantee failure. As a child with a balloon walked by, it suddenly popped with a kunai dart flying toward Itoki. Kusetsu blocked it just in time. Satomi, smirking, observed from afar, while Kusetsu prepared for the worst. As Kusetsu raced through the store, she finally found Satomi in a hidden passage. A fierce battle ensued, with Kusetsu dodging Satomi's slashes and landing a knee to her ribs. But before she could finish the fight, two more ninjas emerged, trapping Kusetsu and allowing Satomi to slip away. Meanwhile, Itoki, fearing the worst, resorted to spraying the area and triggering a fire alarm, causing chaos and forcing everyone to evacuate. In the confusion, Satomi reappeared, rushing toward him with a knife in hand. But Kusetsu intervened just in time, kicking her back. Agents quickly apprehended Satomi, and Itoki, thinking the test was over, was about to touch her to pass. However, an agent informed him that the test had already concluded. Hours later, Takasata delivered the news. Itoki had failed. He would have to wait until the following year to try again. But moments later, a phone call changed everything. Itoki had been accepted into the school. Stunned, he couldn't believe it. Weeks later, as Itoki prepared to leave for the school, a sense of finality settled in. The thought that he might never return home again weighed heavily on his heart. Arriving at the train station, Takasata waved him off, and as the train journeyed through breathtaking scenery, Itoki's mind wandered. At the school, Itoki was greeted by a beautiful girl named Ryoko. They exchanged pleasantries before she left with her friends. As he waved goodbye, Kusetsu kicked him from behind, reminding him to keep moving. In the busy school, Itoki realized Kusetsu had vanished. As he called for her, a group of students bumped into him, and the new chapter of his life began. They were about to knock out his tooth when a girl rushed over, pretending to know him, and pulled him away from the boys. Assuming he was a new student, she warned him to steer clear of them, comparing them to the plague. Introducing herself as Kairi, she offered her friendship. They shook hands, and a few moments later, Kairi found herself in class with Itoki, who decided to introduce her to Kusetsu. During lunch, as they tried to grab their meal tickets, Kairi slyly nudged Itoki into picking a ninja meal, just a tiny portion of food. Scanning the dining hall, Itoki spotted the boys from earlier. Kairi informed him they belonged to the Kuga clan, the same clan hunting him. Suddenly, one of the boys, Himura, stood up and accused Itoki of coming to fight. As Himura yelled, Kairi quickly slipped away. Another boy, Suzaku, silenced Himura. Suzaku, the only son of the Kuga clan's most powerful member, declared his intent to avenge their fallen leader, whom he blamed Itoki's family for killing. That evening, Itoki, Kusetsu, and Kairi arrived at the dorms. Inside, Kairi advised Itoki to avoid Suzaku at all costs. Later, in his room, Kusetsu appeared and vowed to protect him from everyone, even if it made him uneasy. The next day, an instructor announced they would train with ninja suits and cores. Itoki, clueless about both, watched Kusetsu activate her suit before hesitantly activating his own. When tasked to traverse the island for a prize, the students raced off, leaping down a mountain. Itoki found himself immobilized by his suit, but Ryoko came to his rescue, adjusting the fit so he could move again. Pushing him forward, she sent him running, though he quickly stumbled. Meanwhile, Kusetsu and Suzaku were battling atop a rooftop. Suzaku launched a powerful kick, nearly sending Kusetsu falling, but she caught herself and reclaimed her footing just in time to secure her prize. Itoki and Ryoko, crossing a bridge, encountered Suzaku charging straight at Itoki. As Suzaku attacked, Kusetsu intervened, striking him away. Later, Itoki discovered a beaten Kairi with her stolen prize. Determined to help, he confronted the bullies. Despite being outmatched, he managed to retrieve Kairi's prize and returned it to her, though not without suffering for his bravery. The next day, the bullies threatened Itoki again, but Kusetsu stood by him for support. Over a tense meal, Kairi and Ryoko joined them at the table, their bond as a group slowly strengthening. A week later, the teacher announced a ninja test. Confused, Itoki asked Ryoko for help, assuming he'd need combat skills. While showing him a ninja device, Ryoko shared her dream of staying a ninja forever, confessing her father's wish for her to become a dutiful wife instead. Saddened by the thought, she pondered never returning home. When Kairi revealed the test was to steal answers from the teacher's vault, Itoki realized the journey to becoming a ninja was far from straightforward. In Itoki's room that night, doubts clouded his mind. Why had he been chosen as the leader of his clan? He didn't feel worthy of such a responsibility. Kusetsu, however, reassured him that the clan cared only about passing the leadership down. Whether or not the leader could even change his own diaper didn't matter. The next day, while Itoki and his friends plotted a way to break into the teacher's office, two boys approached, eager to join their mission. Impressed by Itoki's courage in dealing with the bullies, they saw him as the perfect role model, and Itoki, after some thought, welcomed them into the group. That evening, under the cover of darkness, they snuck through the school corridors, heading toward the teacher's office. Ryoko handed Itoki a drone to spy on the room. He tossed it into the office and it captured images of the vault and keys. But as it returned, it collided with a glass pane, alerting the teacher. Panic set in as the students scrambled to escape, but Itoki's hook came loose, sending him plummeting. Miraculously, he was caught mid-air and pulled back up just in time. Meanwhile, Kairi was being chased by the teacher. In a desperate move, she threw a smoke bomb and fled, screaming. Inside the office, Itoki and Ryoko discovered the key to the safe had disappeared. As if things weren't bad enough, a group of bullies attacked one of Itoki's friends, forcing Kusetsu to intervene. Hoping to avoid detection, Ryoko hacked into the safe, managing to steal what they thought were the correct answers to the exam. But the next day the truth came to light. The answers were completely false. The group was in trouble. After the test, Himura and his gang mocked them, revealing that they had switched the answers in the vault before Itoki and his friends even arrived. The next day, Itoki and his crew found themselves cleaning the school as punishment. Amidst the task, Kusetsu pulled Itoki aside to reveal a shocking truth. There was a mole in their group, working with Suzaku and his gang, who had sabotaged them. The following day, the teacher warned of an upcoming exam, one that involved extreme challenges, some of which could be deadly. Itoki, now terrified, wondered if he could skip it. But Ryoko quickly shut down the idea, reminding him that failing to take the exam would get him expelled for being weak. In the hallway, they encountered Suzaku, who promised to kill Itoki in the exam. They exchanged tense glares before he walked away. Later that night, as his friends planned for the exam, Itoki decided to turn in early. With a mole among them, their plans would be doomed anyway. Before he could retreat to his room, Kairi stopped him, handing him a special mask that could change his appearance at will. She insisted he would need it for the exam, forcing it into his hands despite his refusal. In his room, Kairi declared her intention to eliminate Suzaku during the exam. Though Itoki feared for her safety, she stood firm, reminding him she was his protector. With no more arguments, he left the room. Later that evening, Itoki wandered the streets and met the master, who invited him for tea. On the rooftop, the master shared stories about Itoki's father, revealing how he had met him years ago and believed Itoki resembled him in many ways. But Itoki wasn't in the mood for conversation. He thanked the master for the tea and left. The following day, as Itoki searched for Kusetsu, she leapt from a tree and challenged him to steal the core from her suit. He lunged at her, but she easily dodged him, mocking his lack of skill. Determined to prove himself, Itoki tried again, only to be knocked to the ground. Kusetsu teased him, calling him a beta, and dared him to prove his worth. He took her advice and began running away, as she had instructed. After their training, Kusetsu showed Itoki a map, explaining their strategy for the exam. She circled an area and, once finished, crumpled the paper and tossed it in the trash, before pulling him outside. Afterward, Kusetsu showed him a map outlining their plans for the exam. She circled key areas on the map, then crumpled the paper and tossed it aside, pulling Itoki out for more preparation. The stage was set, but the mystery of the mole lingered in the air, and Itoki couldn't shake the feeling that danger was closing in. When the day of the exam arrived, the students gathered in abandoned buildings, their anticipation rising as a deafening sound signaled the start. Kusetsu took off running, while a group of Kuga ninjas swiftly appeared, hunting for Itoki. The door was kicked down, but as they stormed inside, a thick gas poured out, knocking them unconscious. Itoki and Kusetsu's trap had worked flawlessly, and with only one ninja left standing, Itoki confronted him. It was the spy, the one who had guided the ninjas to them using the map Kusetsu had carelessly tossed aside. But as the spy apologized, Itoki's heart wavered, torn between anger and sympathy. Just then, Himura appeared, searching for Itoki. In a swift motion, Itoki lunged for him, only to miss and be elbowed to the ground. A dangerous stab came next, narrowly avoided. But when Itoki rose, his mask cracked, revealing his true face. However, Himura's smile revealed his true identity. He was Suzaku all along. Meanwhile, Kusetsu found Suzaku alone, but when the mask came off, it was revealed that he was actually Himura. The two had switched places, hoping to keep Kusetsu away from Suzaku. As Kuga ninjas attacked, Kusetsu effortlessly dispatched them, drawing strength from her core to slice them down. Amira, realizing they couldn't defeat Kusetsu, detonated a bomb, sending shockwaves through the battlefield. Meanwhile, Itoki was fleeing Suzaku, only to be knocked down, a kunai lodged in his leg. Despite the injury, Itoki fought on, evading Suzaku's relentless pursuit. Every time Suzaku got close, Itoki found a way to escape, until, exhausted, Itoki was finally knocked to the ground. Suzaku, driven by a twisted desire for revenge, prepared to finish him off. But Itoki managed to vanish in a cloud of smoke. As drones swarmed, Itoki used the distraction to strike, slashing Suzaku's core. With his suit losing power, Suzaku realized it was too late for him to fight back, but Itoki had no intention of killing him. Just as the end of exam siren blared, signaling victory, Itoki collapsed, exhausted. Days later, Itoki awoke in a hospital. His friends gathered around him, relieved to see he was alive. Kusetsu, who had stayed by his side throughout the ordeal, passed out from exhaustion. A few weeks later, they visited Itoki's family home for the holidays. While there, Kairi began snooping around, searching for weapons. She summoned a bird to deliver a secret message to Suzaku. Meanwhile, Itoki and his family visited a hospital to see Ria's husband, still unconscious from an accident years ago. He had been a ninja in their clan, and Itoki's mother felt responsible for his condition. That evening, Itoki and his mother visited his father's grave. Though he could barely remember him, Itoki was told of his father's heroic death while defending the village. It was believed that the Kuga clan had been responsible, and Itoki's mother feared that her son might share the same fate. The next day, Itoki and his friends went to a store, only to discover that everyone there was a ninja from their clan. Later, by the river, Itoki found himself speechless when he saw the girls in their stunning outfits, struggling to find words. Kusetsu waded into the water, spotting a fish and tossing it straight into Itoki's bucket. Within moments, the group was fishing together. As they worked, Kairi shared the struggles of her clan, once proud but now dwindling, with no village to call their own. Itoki noticed her growing sadness and encouraged her to embrace her worth. "You're a far better ninja than I could ever be," he said with a reassuring smile. Soon, the group returned to the family home, their buckets brimming with fish. The preparations for the feast were underway when Takisada appeared. Having been away for some time, he was eager to return home. He took Itoki aside to recount how, after his father's death, his mother had stepped up as clan leader, saving their village from collapse. He hoped Itoki would learn from her leadership and one day have a family with Kusetsu. As the feast began, Takisada, having indulged in too much drink, started to sing loudly, much to Kusetsu's annoyance. With a swift smack to his head, she sent him straight to sleep. Meanwhile, Itoki and Yumika slipped away for a quiet conversation. Kairi, curious, decided to eavesdrop, but was stopped by a man who spoke highly of Itoki. His words stirred something in Kairi, making her reflect on her past actions. Inside the room, Yumika revealed the clan's deepest secrets to Itoki, explaining why they were the most powerful ninja group in the world. She asked if he was ready to rise to their level, to which he confidently replied, "I am." The next week, Kozo urgently informed Itoki and his friends that the academy had been shut down due to mysterious disappearances of students. Later, they learned of a ninja committee meeting, a rare event meant to decide the fate of the clans. Yumika, Takisada, and Kozo attended, but something felt off. Several clan leaders, particularly those who supported Yumika's village, were missing. Yumika suspected the Kuga clan was behind their disappearances. Hayato, a member of the committee, revealed the Kuga clan's ambitions to start a war, annihilate all other clans, and seize their resources. The committee agreed to arrest the Kuga clan leader. But just as the meeting was progressing, Genji, another committee officer, accused Yumika of killing the Kuga leader. He showed a video of the murder, demanding her arrest. Takisada stepped forward, ready to strike Genji down, but Yumika stopped him, choosing to face the charges instead. Later, as Itoki learned of her arrest, he contemplated taking her place, believing it might be his only path forward. By the next day, with the villagers gathered, Itoki boldly declared himself the new leader. However, Takisada's return brought unsettling news. Hayato had been killed, and Genji, working for the Kuga clan, now threatened to execute Yumika to extract the clan's secrets. The villagers debated whether to rescue her, but fear of angering the committee kept them silent. Takisada, believing the committee had sided with the Kuga clan, proposed a deadly course of action to eliminate them in their sleep. But the villagers hesitated, wary of the potential war. The weight of their eyes fell on Itoki, waiting for him to make a decision. Instead, he stared blankly, lost and uncertain. Kusetsu, fed up with his indecisiveness, lunged at him with a knife, her patience gone. She had seen enough of his hesitation. Perhaps ending his life would bring more clarity. After all, Yumika had been like a mother to her only true family. Kusetsu was determined to save Yumika from the scoundrels, and she wasn't about to let Itoki's softness get in the way of that decision. But Itoki, steeling himself, coughed as he stood up and agreed to the rescue mission, fully aware it would thrust them into a battle with the committee. Meanwhile, at the Kuga clan base, Suzaku arrived in the Kuga leader's office, having been briefed by Kairi about the plans to free Yumika. Seeing this as a perfect opportunity to annihilate the village, he immediately set his sights on leading a raid while Kusetsu and Takasada were away. Kairi mentioned a disturbance in the city, everyone fleeing in panic, though its significance remained unclear. Suddenly, Kozo burst in, urgently informing them that the Kuga clan was preparing to wipe out the village, using the chaos as a diversion. As the threat neared, Ria activated a secret escape route to provide temporary safety. With Kusetsu off on the mission, Itoki was left to defend the village. Meanwhile, Kusetsu and Takasada reached the prison where Yumika was held. After pretending to be lost, Kusetsu put the guards to sleep with precision before they donned their ninja suits and raced through the facility. Kusetsu kicked down a window, releasing a smoke bomb, and together they breezed past the guards, knocking them to the ground. When they reached Yumika's cell, Kusetsu kicked the door open, informing Yumika that Itoki had ordered her rescue. But as they fled, they ran straight into a new set of security. Takasada urged Kusetsu to focus on getting Yumika to safety, creating another diversion with a smoke bomb while she took down the guards. Back in Itoki's village, chaos erupted as enemy ninjas clashed with deadly robots. Ria, seeing the onslaught, feared it was only a matter of time before the robots breached their defenses. Itoki suggested retreating to the family home, but Ria warned against it, knowing they'd be cornered. As the situation escalated, Kairi examined one of the robots, discovering that the bots were running low on power and could only function for another half hour. Realizing this was their only window of opportunity, Itoki decided to take a dangerous risk and destroy the chargers that powered the robots. Ryoko, knowing her father had built the robots, volunteered to accompany him. While all this unfolded, Takasata, having slain the prison guards, was confronted by a new team led by Shioroni, a committee official seeking vengeance for the death of Hayato. She ordered Genji's arrest, but Takasata, ever the slippery one, quickly subdued her men and made his escape with Genji in tow. Back on the mountain, Kusetsu and Yumika realized the village was under attack. Kusetsu suggested staying out of the fight, but Yumika, determined to defend her home, insisted on joining the fray. Meanwhile, inside the village, Itoki and Ryoko found the chargers, and Itoki seized the moment, suggesting they destroy them immediately. With the Kuga forces mostly away, it was their only chance to take down the enemy. Ryoko handed him the bombs she had prepared, certain that the explosion would bring the Kuga clan to its knees. They had considered placing the bombs on the chargers, but the challenge was clear. How could they get close enough before being spotted? Ryoko then revealed a bomb that would momentarily disable the robots. When the time came, Itoki rushed from the bushes towards the machines, and Ryoko tossed the bomb into the air, freezing the bots in place. But Suzaku, intent on finishing what he had started in the exam, kicked Itoki back, determined to destroy him. Reacting quickly, Itoki launched a disc, and Ryoko took Suzaku down, allowing Itoki to continue his mission of placing the bomb on the charger. However, as soon as he neared the target, the robot sprang to life, trapping both Itoki and Ryoko. One of the machines seized the bomb and sprinted toward the charger. Without hesitation, Himura gave chase, tackling the bot to the ground. But as he landed, he realized the bomb was already attached. Seizing the moment, Itoki directed his disc straight into the bomb, causing a massive explosion that obliterated everything in its path. Moments later, Ryoko helped Itoki to his feet, and they began to leave. But Itoki paused, rushing back to the person lying on the ground. As the mask shattered, they discovered the truth. It was Kairi. She had been pretending to be a bot, secretly helping them by placing the bomb as a form of redemption for her earlier betrayal. With the bots reactivating, Itoki carried Kairi and fled. Back at Itoki's home, Yumika and Kusetsu arrived, relieved to see everyone safe. But things soon took a dark turn. Kusetsu began to writhe in pain, screaming as if possessed. In a moment of madness, she held a kunai to Yumika's throat, demanding to know the location of their secret core. She forced Yumika into a room, her eyes glowing with a strange, unnatural light. As Kusetsu pointed the weapon at her, Yumika stood firm, enduring a slash across her face. Yet, as Kusetsu's mask was removed, Yumika realized the tragic truth. Kusetsu was fighting against an overwhelming force, desperately trying to break free. Yumika, heartbroken and confused, attempted to comfort her, but Kusetsu could no longer hold on. In a sudden, heartbreaking moment, Kusetsu stabbed Yumika, ending her life. Itoki and his friends arrived to find the unthinkable. Yumika was dead. Itoki rushed to her side, but it was too late. Kozo, furious, demanded an explanation from Kusetsu, but she couldn't give one. She didn't understand what had overtaken her. As Takasata arrived and saw the scene, his worst fears were confirmed. The next day, Reiha informed Itoki that with his mother's death, he was now responsible for leading the clan. The villagers awaited his decision on their war with the Kuga clan, but Itoki could only think of the tragedy that had struck his family. The grief and frustration were overwhelming, and in his anger, he lashed out at Takasata. That evening, with the village gathered, Itoki sealed his fate. He placed his thumb on the clan's leadership contract. But the weight of the decision bore heavily on him. The villagers, hungry for vengeance against the Kuga clan, were relentless. Yet Itoki was torn. He couldn't fathom the idea of executing Kusetsu, the very person who had protected him for years. As tensions rose, a call for war was made. But Itoki hesitated, unable to decide what to do. He requested another meeting, one after his mother was buried. Days passed, and Ryoko and Kairi prepared to leave. Itoki knew their departure meant a loneliness he couldn't bear. Before they left, Ryoko asked him to protect Kusetsu, convinced that something sinister had been done to her mind. But Itoki felt powerless. He wasn't sure he could save her from the darkness overtaking her. The day they left, Takasata called for Itoki once more, leaving him with more questions than answers. Takasata led Itoki into a separate house where they found Kusetsu bound and devastated. She had been attempting to end her life since regaining control of her mind. Desperate for answers, Itoki asked her what she remembered, but her mind was blank, save for a horrible noise she thought was just a dream. Overcome with emotion, she begged Itoki to end her suffering, but Takasata reassured her of her value. He revealed that her father was the Kuga clan leader and that she had been hypnotized as a child and abandoned. The Kuga leader had intended to use her to spy on the IGA village, but ultimately planned her death. Kusetsu was confused as to why she hadn't been cast aside earlier, but Takasata explained that Yumika had raised her as her own daughter. This revelation broke Kusetsu, blaming herself for Yumika's death, though Takasata suspected someone else had been responsible. As she wept, Itoki held her close. Days passed, and the villagers gathered to bury Yumika. That night, Itoki sat alone, gazing at her photograph. Suzaku appeared, paying his respects at her shrine, wondering if Itoki understood his grief. He called Itoki a coward, provoking a fight that ended with them crashing through a window. Itoki couldn't understand Suzaku's obsessive thirst for revenge, especially when he wasn't seeking vengeance for his own mother's death. Suzaku, consumed by bitterness, claimed Itoki's soul was beyond redemption. The next day, a letter from the Kuga clan arrived, demanding the secret core and threatening war if their request was denied. Itoki hesitated, asking for time to consider. Later that night, standing at his mother's shrine, he wrestled with the choice: protect the village or face war. When the day came, Itoki made a bold decision. He agreed to hand over the secret core, demanding half of the Kuga clan's resources in return. The villagers were shocked, but Itoki stood firm, willing to expel anyone who opposed him. Days later, Shoni informed Itoki that the Kuga clan refused to share resources and were preparing to attack. Meanwhile, Kairi found Ryoko's home destroyed by the Kuga clan. Both villages lay in ruins, and Kairi had nowhere left to go. In the remains of the house, she discovered Ryoko preparing a bomb to destroy the Kuga clan. Kairi, overcome with guilt for her role in the attack on IGA, confessed her sins, believing herself unforgivable. Ryoko, however, offered her redemption, welcoming her into Itoki's village. The Kuga clan demanded Itoki's resignation, calling him weak, but he stood resolute, claiming his position was his birthright. That night, the clan planned to abduct him, but as they waited for Kozo's orders, Ria discovered Itoki's room empty. As she read a note on his desk, Kozo entered and quickly deduced that she had killed Yumika and intended to kill Itoki too. She attacked, but Kozo blocked her strike and retaliated. Itoki had already confided in him about the spy in their midst, and Kozo was determined to bring justice for Yumika's death. In his quest to uncover the spy, Kozo took on the guise of a rogue king. His thoughts turned to Ri's betrayal. Why would she turn on her own village? She confessed. The Kuga leader had promised to resurrect her husband with dark sorcery, and she had immediately ended her own life. Meanwhile, Itoki, Kusetsu, and Takasata were making their way to the Kuga base. With the Kuga clan planning to destroy their village, they hoped to retaliate in kind. But Itoki, willing to be the sacrificial lamb, urged Takasata and Kusetsu to go home. They refused, determined to stand by him, ready to turn the tides. Inside the Kuga base, a receptionist triggered the security system, but Itoki remained calm, simply requesting an audience with the Kuga leader. In an instant, they were surrounded by robots. Kusetsu took to the air, kicking them down, while Itoki slashed through them with precision. Explosions rocked the area, and in the smoke, Ryoko appeared, knocking down one of the bots, while Kairi followed suit, slicing through another. The group united to bring the Kuga clan down, and Kairi, feeling the weight of his betrayal, apologized for spying on Itoki's village before running off. As Ryoko dealt with the enemies, Kairi kicked two robots away, allowing Itoki and his team to climb the stairs. They soon faced 100 more robots, but Itoki, drawing power from his suit, effortlessly cut through them, though he collapsed from exhaustion as his core drained him. The Kuga clan retaliated, firing ropes at him, but Takasata intervened, and Kusetsu summoned a cloud of smoke to save them. Takasata, pulling them to safety, cleared a path, and the trio made their way to the office. There, they encountered Yura and another man. Kusetsu was ready to fight, but Suzaku appeared, flames rising from his hands. With a fiery wall blocking their path, Itoki and Kusetsu made their escape. Soon after, they met Kidu, the Kuga leader. Itoki, determined to protect his village, offered his core in exchange for peace. But Kidu had grander plans. He wanted to burn all the ninja villages to the ground and rule the world. When Itoki refused to kill him, Kidu claimed to be the master of life and death, making Itoki's blood boil. As his core began to glow, Itoki tried to draw his sword, but Kusetsu stopped him, realizing that Kidu was trying to provoke him. As they turned to leave, Kidu activated his core and fired at them. Kusetsu blocked the shots but was blown back. Kidu continued shooting at Itoki, who dodged the blast but was eventually struck and thrown to the ground. Itoki rushed forward, slashing at Kidu, but the old man countered with a punch and blasted a hole in the wall. Kidu mocked him, calling him a baby, but Itoki retorted, telling him he was a grown man capable of fathering children. As he charged again, Kidu drew a gun, but Kusetsu intercepted, allowing Itoki to strike at Kidu's breastplate. Kidu, unfazed, punched Kusetsu aside and blocked Itoki's sword, knocking him back. They clashed in a brutal exchange of punches, each trying to overpower the other. In the end, Itoki landed a crushing blow to Kido's side, followed by a powerful strike to the head, sending Kido crashing into the wall. Itoki taunted him, telling him to repent for his sins and eat Big Macs every day, but Kido preferred chicken nuggets. As they began to leave, Kido attempted to settle the score with a bullet, but Takasata intervened, stabbing him in the heart. Just then, Shoni arrived, hoping to arrest Kido, only to find him dead. Takasata, now a fugitive, said his goodbyes, knowing he would become the most wanted man in the ninja world, before flying off into the distance. With the mission complete, Itoki and Kusetsu began their journey back to the village, wondering what the future held for them. Itoki couldn't help but wonder if he'd finally get his chance to stick his little shuriken into her ninja.